Hi, I'm Jeremy Crosby.
And I'm Nick Boucher. We're your hosts for the program that's all about your city, Talking Fitchburg.
Every weekday, we pull together the news, events, and information you need to stay on top of what's happening in the city of Fitchburg.
Find Talking Fitchburg on cable TV, Roku, Amazon Fire, Apple TV, and our live stream on the web. Plus, you can find all our headlines and stories on Facebook, YouTube, and our video on demand service. This is your city.
Keep up with Talking Fitchburg and the issues affecting you and your neighbors.
Want to know what's happening in your city? Get Notify Me messages from the City of Fitchburg. Visit fitchburgwi.gov on your computer or mobile device and select the big Notify Me button on the left. Enter your email and/or phone number, whichever is best for you to get notifications. Scroll down the list and select all the topics you're interested in to receive email or text messages about. You'll be notified every time one of your topics is updated. Sign up for Notify Me, one more way to keep up with your Fitchburg government.
Are we on? Okay, thank you. Good morning. My name is Mark Hamilton. I'm going to call the April 24th, 2025 Community and Economic Development Authority meeting to order. And the first thing we're going to do is start off with a roll call. And we have some extra special guests this morning, so when you introduce yourself for the roll call, please introduce your guest. I'll start off to my left, and then we'll go with the folks on the screen at the end. Go ahead.
Andy Potts. Teddy, you want to introduce yourself? No. This is Teddy. Teddy's being shy, but okay. Teddy is here for Take Your Child to Work Day.
Okay. Welcome, Teddy. Yeah, yeah. We're doing roll call right now. That was roll call. We'll get there.
Okay. Jimmy Sanders.
Nicole
Vafadari.
And we'll welcome you at our next stop on the agenda. We have a colleague down here, Dan Hardy.
I'm here.
And Joel Maldonado.
Hello.
Hello.
Naya Maldonado Nunez.
And welcome to you too. Okay, we'll get this meeting going. We have a new member, Nicole Vafadari. Okay.
It's a lot of letters,
okay.
So don't you worry.
If you'll tell us a little about yourself and which district you represent.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for the kind welcome. My name's Nicole Vafadari. I represent District 4. I live in Seminole Forest, right off of Osmondson. And a little bit about me, I've been on council for just over a year now, but it feels like longer, in a good way. Before that, I was on the Verona School Board, serving as the clerk. I have 2 children, a 7-year-old who goes to New Century and a 4-year-old who goes to Woods Hollow. Although I would have loved to have brought them, I also decided to give the gift to everybody here to not bring the 4-year-old this morning. And I own my own healthcare technology consulting business. We do Salesforce implementations and help patients get access to care that they need. And I'm super excited to be here, so thank you for the welcome.
Well, welcome. This is a great group who does a lot of great things. We have one more member who just walked into the building, so over there, if you'll introduce yourself, I'll make you into the roll call.
Yes, good morning, everyone. My name is Mario Garcia. I live here in Fitchburg, District 3. I believe I've been in this committee for almost 2 years, so it's been a great pleasure to serve this community. Good to be here.
Thank you. Welcome, Nicole, and we will go from there. Next on the agenda is approval of the minutes from February 27th. Joyce sent them out a week or so ago, so everybody had a chance? I hope everybody's had a chance to look at them. Is there a motion to approve or make any changes?
I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
We have a motion to approve from Andy and second by Jenny. Is there any more discussion on the matter? Okay, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Hi.
Opposed, same sign. Okay, we have our minutes done. Joyce, do we have any public appearances for non-agenda items?
I don't believe so.
Okay. Then we will move into item 6 on the agenda, which is development updates. I'm going to look to you, Joyce, to get us through these 4 items. Thank you.
We thought it would be great to bring in some of our developers that you've been hearing about these projects for quite some time. So we thought it would be great for you to hear it directly from the source. And then if you have any questions, feel free. The first person up is Al Brezak with Edgewood College. We're aware of the project that's taking place over on the former Lacey Road, former O'Brien property. So we're excited to hear how this is moving forward. Push the button. There you go.
Now we're good. Okay, hear me? All right. Thanks, Joyce. And thank you for allowing me to present where we're at and what we're up to. Been working on this for a number of years. Can we get this slide up?
There you go.
All right. So some of you were at council meeting last week where we received our ADR and conditional permit acceptances, and we're grateful for that, and that will allow us to be able to move into the next things. So I just thought I'd take the time this morning just to get you up to speed with look and feel and some things that we're looking at. And then mark your calendars, if you would, for the 30th, the evening of the 30th at Hop House. We'll be sharing a lot more information with the community now as we'll have more. There'll be a number of people that'll be curious about lighting and different things like that. And I think pleasantly surprised actually, and am very happy with what they see with where things have gone with that. Okay, so. Why are we not seeing slides here? Yep. Come on over, Joyce, because I am not used to navigating your computer. So.
Maybe at the bottom of, you can put it in the view. Oh, where are we at here? Do we see full screen? Is that single page? There you go. Hopefully that'll work.
We'll find out, right? Maybe.
I think it's really slow.
So this is a rendition of what it'll look like in a snowstorm. So let me talk you through some things while we kind of work with this and get some people up to speed if you're not up to speed. So our project is more than just an athletics and wellness campus. We are looking at phasing the project right now. If some of you remember, the project has a series of stadiums on the site. There is a track lacrosse soccer stadium. There is a baseball stadium and a softball stadium on the site. I'll talk about the wetland portion of it as well. And then a significant building footprint on the site. Our plan right now is to look at the building footprint as a phase 2, if you will, as we focus. Couple reasons for that. One is financial, certainly, but the main reason is that this is also part of a vision that we have for water management in that kettle, in that area. The fields are synthetic because we can control water flow, filtration, and movement into what eventually becomes a Sugar River watershed. And then there's a series of ponds that help with that, and then the wetland actually plays a key role in that. One of the questions I get a lot is regarding the wetland restoration. So on the property, there was a 12-acre wetland that we discovered when we looked at the land. That 12 acres has been poor farm crop for decades. And so the initial plan was to utilize that 12 acres as a corner piece to the entire project as we start to work water flow through that kettle. And so people ask me, well, what does that mean, restoring a wetland? It's actually not as complicated as it would seem. It's just stop farming it, move a little bit of dirt because there's areas that should be low that are no longer low because of silt and so on that has flowed into there, and get that out of the way, and then over about a 10-year period or so, allow a wetland to mature and just grow and develop on its own naturally with a little bit of help. That's exciting for us because we have environmental studies and is both a minor and a major on Edgewood College's campus. So our environmental studies students are super excited because you don't have the opportunity to watch a wetland go from 0 to full growth over a period of time, and they'll be able to, we'll have multiple cohorts that'll be able to watch that happen, study it, and be involved in it. So that is all just to give you an idea of where we are looking at with the entire project that way. Okay, now we're going to see here what we've got. Okay, let's take a look at some things then. So as we look at the layout of the project, here in the lower right-hand corner, so you can see Seminole Highway is coming down on the right side there. You can see that area there that I was just talking about, the wetland area on this. Imagine everything is running from left to right in terms of water. All the water in this area wants to go from left to right. It is hillside all around us, surrounding this property from the what is the west on your left, the south at the bottom of the page, and these fields will be the first point of contact with water. Again, synthetic fields, think of a tree. There's a lot more space in a tree than there is leaves in the middle of the summer. So is a synthetic field. It's mostly space underneath the synthetic field. And so water gets stored under there and then flows out in a controlled rate, moving into the wetland, primarily with that water, and then some of it will be moved into the ponds that you see there to the top of the page, the settlement ponds. Down in the lower left-hand side, you can see the large footprint building I was talking about. Again, we are considering that a phase 2 component with this project right now. Our focus right now is to get everything else completed on here. I'll just break out some of the pieces of this. This is a smaller building. This building, just to give you an idea, is located right here. And this building is a training building. It also houses environmental studies. Their lab space, their prep space, basically think boots, canoes, things like that, nets, things that you would use for various things that they would use into the wetland. And that is the reason it is located as closely to that. But inside this building, we call it a hitting building because it's essentially bomb-proof. It's nets, it's turf, it'll accommodate training for baseball, softball, lacrosse, golf, anything that has a ball that can do damage to normal walls and stuff will be housed in here. And then a golf training area, which you can see there on the right with simulation bays, golfing green, and so on. That'll be in there, and then storage, lockers, etc. in there. Give you an idea, feel here and look for these buildings. The inside, I believe that's Tiger Woods standing there again. And this is not a real large building. The footprint is significant in terms of what our athletes would utilize and our community would utilize. It'll really blend into the area, though, when you actually look at it, the scope of the rest of the project. This is on the soccer lacrosse track stadium. So the seating underneath will house locker rooms for home and visiting teams, sports medicine, and support facilities. I'm going to show you two renditions. We have not decided which we want to use yet, so they're both kind of in play right now. But this gives you a general feel for that. This is deceptive. The wetland that you see there, it will almost never look like that. A lot of people have asked me that too. It doesn't look like a lake. It looks more like grass out of water. So. Give you some color ideas. This is the second rendition, which has a deck on it, overlooking that way. There is some support from our alumni and some folks for this, for gatherings and so on. It does require significant ADA upgrades if we do that, so there's some significant money that has to be raised for that. I'll give you a look from another point of view. Then with the deck. Both baseball and softball stadiums will have all of their supports on site with them. So this gives you an idea. Locker room facilities, sports medicine facilities, equipment storage, and so on. Give you some idea of what that looks like. This would be baseball. Softball is exactly the same, just smaller version, less players. And then some pictures just to kind of give you an idea here as we. So the softball stadium. And again, even where it looks like dirt, that is all synthetic. It's just a different color. It's brown AstroTurf instead of green. Soccer, lacrosse, and track stadium. Some perspectives of the wetland. This is that smaller building I was talking about again. It is a fairly large building when you think about it, but in the scope of the project, it really will just blend into what's around it, as you can see here. There will be trails that go around the wetland. We do expect to have educational stations, outposts around it, and those trails will be open to the public. The facility won't necessarily be open to the public, the whole facility, but the wetlands, our intention is to have those open to the public all the time. There'll be a bike path the bike path will connect to it and everything. So this gives you a better idea of what the wetlands will look like most of the time.
What's your plan for bug control? Because I see all that water and
Yep.
sweaty kids and...
Yeah, so there's a couple of things that'll happen with that. One, the turf will help that a considerable amount. There is a lot of research that shows that turf also cuts down on insects. Geese, for instance, I know those aren't insects, but geese will actually avoid turf, which is interesting. They'll land on it and then they'll spread the word and never come back. I'm assuming because they can't eat it. We probably will be using significant bat houses out here, I would think. But again, this will phase over time. And you actually bring up another good point that we've been asked quite a bit. This is deceptive in terms of the foliage out here, the trees and stuff, because this actually can't be done. And I wanted to point that out. We will probably have to use more evergreens, shrubs, and less trees for two reasons. One, these trees will destroy the wetland. because when they drop their leaves and everything, that sediment builds up. It keeps your wetland, your bog from developing. And then the other thing is it also plugs up the turf and all your water filtration if those leaves get into the turf and everything. So this will be a lot more open scape, this acreage out here. More evergreens, cedar trees, probably a significant number of cedar trees and other trees that are that do repel bugs and insects. We'll probably be using those a lot more than we would all elms and stuff like that. We do have a few bur oaks that are quite old out on the property. Unfortunately, when the Lacey development was done, two of the most beautiful ones out there that we were hoping to make entry point, they had to be removed. So our plan is to keep those on the property, the ones that are already there. But other than that, to your point, you're going to see cedars and trees like that will cut down on insect. But I'm guessing a lot of bat houses too.
And then also, will there be any kind of fencing or anything around that wetland area to keep people from accidentally roaming into the squishy?
Probably not, no. The best description I could give you would be the arboretum. When you pull into the arboretum over to the right side as you park there, think about that. That's really more what you're going to look at. This isn't an area where somebody's going to walk in and drown or anything like that. Yeah. Other questions?
Yeah. A couple questions. Maybe you already kind of alluded to this, but is synthetic turf where the dirt is on a baseball diamond? Is that like a common trend? Is there a reason for that?
Yeah, it is. There's a few reasons. One, in our case here, we don't even want that dirt in there because it cuts down on your filtration because the dirt is far less permeable than the synthetic surface is. Also, wear and tear allows you to be able to do more, less maintenance. And it is fairly common. Not at the professional level. Actually, what you're seeing now at the professional level is a lot of baseball fields now at the professional level are going where the grass is synthetic, and then they're leaving the dirt. But that's because they have a grounds crew of a gazillion people to take care of it.
You don't have that same staff.
Yeah, but at the collegiate level, we're seeing synthetic is pretty much standard across the board. Yeah.
Awesome. And then just to restate, Badger State Trail goes through this property, and you stated that there is a connection to the bike path?
Badger State Trail.
Or correct me if that's wrong too, please.
No, you're okay. It doesn't actually run through the property.
It doesn't?
No.
Okay.
No, it does not.
Can you go back to your overall orientation? I think that should answer that question.
That's what I was going to do. Just letting it load up here.
Thanks. I was going to ask you that anyway.
So while this is loading. So Badger State Trail actually runs right along Seminole Highway.
Yep.
And our property, there is a piece of land that is still owned by the O'Briens between Badger State Trail and our property. Our intention is to connect from Badger State Trail near the natural gas station and come across that way onto our property.
Gotcha.
Sorry, it's not wanting to load. And then be able to connect that way.
Because I think that my final question, well, I'm lying, I have two more questions. But my final question is kind of related to that, is around the South Stoner Prairie neighborhood, which is kind of coming very bad with cardinal directions. It doesn't serve me well in this role. But
it's directly to the west.
Yes, thank you.
Immediately to the west.
Yep. So as we think about how could you connect from the Badger State Trail into that neighborhood, I think that's where kind of my thoughts are around that.
Yeah, and it won't be able to happen through our property.
Okay.
And there's a couple reasons for that. The one area that could potentially happen would be to the south side of our property.
Okay.
And that can't happen because there'll be times of year where that is going to be inundated with water because that water is going to come off of the ridge and down that side. And so that is actually a washway. The other way would be cutting right through the middle of the property, right through fields and stuff like that. So until that South Stoner Prairie neighborhood is fully developed and the roadway cuts around to the south back into Seminole Highway,
sure.
I believe in our committee meeting that was Interceptor A. When
Good
it
memory.
runs down, then that'll be a connection. But other than that, Lacey Road is the only connection that would be available.
Gotcha. And I guess my last point was just to share what I had asked at council Monday, this week, which was kind of the lights question, which I think you kind of alluded to, and just sharing that, kind of making sure that a home is not abutting up to bright lights on fields, that could go to, I believe, 10 p.m. at night.
No events can start after 9.
Okay. But they could lead until after, which I think a great point that was brought up was like, yes, and this development is going in, and so it's not the South Stoner Prairie neighborhood plan could accommodate that accordingly, right? We could talk through, okay, well, then don't plan for a single family home to butt up right by the lights. My understanding is that clearly this is not dark sky compliant because you need a ton of lights at night, but it's going to be as compliant and directionally thoughtful as possible, which I really appreciate the kind of thoughtfulness around that, kind of the balance of, I've played on Frisbee fields and fall Frisbee, right? You need the lights in order to play. So I just wanted to kind of share that because I appreciated that answer and the flexibility of how we manage which plan gets executed first.
So I'm actually on the South Stoner Committee.
Oh, that's awesome.
The land closest to our property will probably be industrial.
That's a great idea to do that.
So that will help create a buffer there.
A ton.
The other pieces, and this is the part on the 30th, I would encourage people to come. We'll have people from Musco there and everything. I don't think people fully grasp what lighting is now for athletic fields. The best way for me to describe it to you is anybody that's had their basement redone or had new lighting put into an entertainment room or anything like that, that's far closer to what happens on an athletic field now than what was. They just redid lighting up in there's a park called Wildwood Park up in Sheboygan. And I'm just using this as an example. There's a family who has lived there for 2 generations. And so they've dealt with normal park lighting. They redid the lighting now, and the family complained because they can't see the games because it's a dark, like we can't see because the light is so focused. We don't know that the park, they live literally 30 yards from the center field fence. We have old lights at Redden. If anybody's ever been at Redden, we currently play soccer and lacrosse there. One of the complaints we get from the care home, which is 40 yards to the south of our field, is if we could do something with the lighting so they could watch the games. And that's old lighting. So now we have LEDs, what's called show lighting, where you can turn it to 20%, up to 100%. You don't even get am I looking at a light fixture anymore? They're completely enclosed in. So I'm excited for people to be able to see that on the 30th. I think people are going to be kind of blown away, actually, with where it's come. In Verona, we just put new lighting on at Community Park on the softball fields. And I was even shocked. We cut lighting fixtures down 60% less. We have less fixtures than we did before, and we've got more light. But you can pull into the parking lot, and you're not sure that the fields are lit until you actually look. Oh, the lights are on. There's something going on. So it's just amazing what's happened with lighting and sound, for that matter. How much you can focus sound as well is pretty incredible. So yeah. Other questions? Yeah.
Well, so that's your orientation. So Lacey Road is the top of that slide, correct?
Yes.
So those of you asked the question about the bike path right there, where is
and this is Lacey, and so the bike path runs right along here. We are required to put a sidewalk in here, finish the sidewalk, but this is also, there's a bike lane through here. And then our intention is in this area, we're not sure if we want to do it over here or if we want to do it here, or both, will be moped and bike parking. This would obviously be most convenient to be able to get here from the bike trail, and we're also thinking about our students and faculty and staff that would come. This is a 15-minute moped ride or bike ride from campus.
So going further south, is that where the solar panels still are? South of there?
Yes.
Okay,
down
so they're staying.
here,
That's-
this is the current O'Brien farmstead,
Right.
and then the solar panels are down
Okay,
here.
thank you. My second question is, given what's going on with grants and funding and that kind of thing, is this all funded now? And okay.
No. We have a significant amount of funds. So Edgewood College, unlike many schools right now across the country, we're doing very well financially. And we have earmarked millions of dollars for this project already. For those of you that aren't aware, we purchased the land in cash. So there is fundraising that has to go on. We have been in the silent phase of that fundraising, but a lot of our fundraising stuff to kick off couldn't happen until we went through the permitting process, till we knew ADR and conditionals were met. So, and now we'll hit it full steam.
Okay, thank you. And when are you starting construction then, given?
Our hope is to start moving dirt in the fall.
Okay, thank you.
And whether that be phased, and when I say moving dirt, there's obviously a lot of grading and stuff like that that has to be done.
Thank you very much.
Sorry, I did
Other
have one.
questions?
I had one final question. You mentioned the trees on the space. Is it a fair assumption that you're working with like a certified master arborist to understand what trees can be moved, and then if you have to replant, what trees fit the location and such?
So if you remember, John and Chase from Rettler were the ones that presented at council for us on our behalf. The reason that we brought Rettler in from the beginning with this, if you haven't been on our campus on Monroe Street, Edgewood College's campus actually fits a water management plan similar to this. The pond at the base of the hill actually takes all the water in from the three neighborhoods above, filters it before it goes to Lake Wingra, and the college has been very played an important role over the last 30 years in Lake Wingra's functioning as a clean lake and as being a good habitat for muskie and the other fish. Rettler did that work. And when we knew that what was going on here, that was the reason we brought Rettler in. And so everybody within their team deals with those types of things. That's their expertise. And so they've already reached out to those folks. They've had them walk through. That's how I know that I actually called them out, because we were in that meeting. I'm like, well, these trees won't work then from what I'm hearing. And they're like, no, they're just for a visual. So, yeah.
Other questions?
So I have another question, kind of going back to the trees and bugs and everything. I'm just trying to get a sense for sort of the chemical treatments that might happen. I had a question about that, and so I just want to make sure I'm clear in terms of treatments of the trees and is there any live grass, or is it all turf?
On the fields themselves, it's all turf.
But then surrounding it, there's real grass.
There'll be some, probably more tall fescue, low maintenance, shrubs, things like that.
So
very little lawn type look.
Okay, so chemical treatments in terms of weed control and bug control and all that, are
Very
you
little,
not?
very little, and that's also part of it. Is we want this to be maintenance free, as little human interaction as we can, and just let it be. So yeah very little,
But some.
we use very little on our campus. Pretty much everything we do is natural on our campus, so I would assume that will continue out here, just because those are kind of our rules on campus.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Other questions? Well, thank you for the great...
Actually, I have one final
Joyce.
question, because this is one that I get quite often. Any chance that the high school will be utilizing these fields for football or anything? Because that's a question that I get quite often from residents.
High school, meaning Edgewood High School?
Edgewood High School.
So Edgewood High School, currently the plan is that Edgewood High School, just like any other potential user, West High School has reached out to us, Madison School District has. There are many schools, institutions that are limited with facilities. Our plan right now is to treat them as rental customers like anyone else. I don't know that people fully grasp. So if you look at, so the answer isn't no, because if there's time available, we may rent it, right? But if you look at that soccer, lacrosse, track stadium, so soccer in college is men's and women's soccer. It's a fall sport with a spring season as well. Lacrosse is a spring sport that actually, for some crazy reason in the upper Midwest, starts in the winter and has a fall season as well. So the athletes that would utilize that stadium there, that stadium's probably utilized by those 4 teams 10 months out of the year, pretty much every night. So that really limits a lot of accessibility to a Friday night football game or practices, things like that. Now, if there's a special event that we can plan out, and then we would absolutely be open to that. But the other thing too is Edgewood College has never had our own varsity athletic facilities or health and wellness facilities. And we have no club sports on our campus. My guess would be the day that this gets finished, I will probably have about 17,000 club sport requests coming across my desk. So, and I would doubt that we're going to say no to our students, but you don't know until you have it, right? You don't know if it's going to be used. So,
Are there other questions?
Actually, do you know how many people the stadium holds?
yeah.
I guess.
So the baseball stadium currently is a 500-seat facility. Softball is 300, I believe, is what we've programmed for that. And then soccer, lacrosse, and track stadium is programmed for 1,000. Very doubtful that we will ever have 1,000 for our events at that stadium, but the 1,000 accommodates the locker room space underneath, so it doesn't really make sense to not have the seating if you're putting all those teams' locker rooms underneath. It would be a waste of money not to. And it allows us, we do have, WIA has also been, the high school federation in the state has been very eager to put more events in Madison. And if those of you are not aware, UW-Madison has pushed those events away over the years, and they really want events in Madison. So they've been keeping a close eye on what we've been doing to see if we could be a home to soccer, state soccer tournament, things like that. So,
Other questions? Well, thank you for your time, and I will give you an anecdotal comment. My son graduated from Edgewood College, and one of his biggest complaints was there was nowhere to go sports and stuff. So thank you for bringing this out here. We look forward to your success.
Thank you very much. Thanks, folks.
Okay, Joyce, next on the agenda, redevelopment of Bowman Plaza.
Well, Ned's getting set up here. I'll just give you a little bit of background. We're really excited about this project. This aligns very well with our vision that we have for North Fish Hatchery Road. We're excited to see what Ned plans to do and learn more about his project. This is going to be a catalyst and the tallest building, is my understanding, in Fitchburg. So we're pleased that he was able to bring us a product that's definitely needed in that corridor.
Okay, Ned, the floor is yours.
Sorry, I'm having technical difficulties myself now.
I think you're going to have to minimize me.
All right, so we switched out the HDMI cord, so it's a
What's
different
that?
input now. So maybe might need to switch the input. Oh, there we go. That's it. Good, that's it.
And you want me on Zoom as well to share?
Perfect.
All right.
So they can see it there. They can see it.
You got that? Great. All right. Good morning. Sorry for the technical difficulties. So we are excited to be here to talk about Bowman Plaza, but we thought we would take a step back and kind of reintroduce ourselves. You've seen me here as part of Venture Capital, but Mike and I have decided not to do any new projects together, and on that basis, we're going to set up a new entity, Ragtag Ventures. I'm here with Chase Zimmerman, who's one of my kind of co-founders for that. There are kind of four of us kind of working together, and this will be the vehicle that you will see on screens moving forward for kind of additional sort of projects. So we're going to continue to do multifamily projects here in Fitchburg and in Australia, and you will see our faces up here on a regular basis now, kind of moving forward. You've currently seen stuff for us at Hartung Fields. As a reminder to you all, there's a approved master plan for comprehensive development at Hartung Fields that the Hartung family did with Sara Investments. As part of that, we are doing the multifamily precinct. So we have 3 buildings designed together, a total of nearly 600 units. Hartung A, the Juniper, is opening this June. Very excited. We've already started pre-leasing for that. Hartung B, the Rowan, is to start this fall. And I will put in a big caveat that is subject to tariffs, and opens or should open in January 2027. And Hartung C, the Cypress, will follow in 2027. So that's kind of our plan there, and just a reminder to you all of what we're already kind of doing in Fitchburg, kind of as Ragtag, just with a new name kind of on it. So this is a render of the Juniper, the one that's open, and you'll see at the roundabout at Lacey Road if you're down just south of Uptown. And this is the Rowan, which just had its ADR approval from the Plan Commission, and we are again trying to get bids done and get that started. So what's next? Bowman Plaza is up next, and the reason we are here, many of you know that we have proposed a redevelopment of Bowman Plaza, which has mostly sat empty since the sale of Stop and Go to Quick Trip. Given the number of other locations that Quick Trip had, they decided not to take that on as a service station. So that service station was removed, and as a result, the complex has mostly been empty. We have approval, GIP approval for 276 upscale market rate units with shared amenities, club room, fitness center, green roof patio, over 300 covered parking spaces, and plans for about 9,500 square feet of prime commercial space with Fitch-Hatchery Road frontage and exposure, floor and a half ceiling heights, and then shared and coordinated surface parking with the church, the City on a Hill church next door. It's worth kind of looking at the site plan. What's taken a long time with this, and why you've heard about it sort of incrementally over the years, is that Bowman Plaza itself is a reasonably small site, and in order to get the access right, we had to figure out a way to work with the City on a Hill Church and our Kelly's Marcus neighbors to the south to coordinate sort of access. So there's an existing access easement on the south side of the proposed building with Kelly's Markets, and that will kind of do an L-shaped loop between Fish Hatchery and Post Road. And we have negotiated for a shared drive with the church that will kind of loop around to the north and connect to the Ochala Drive lighted intersection there. We then coordinated with the city in terms of proposed parking, etc., so that one floor of covered parking will exit to the north, one floor will exit to the south, and that helps to spread the traffic to both sort of intersections to avoid kind of traffic jams at any particular sort of time of the day. It also required us to work with the church to think about what their future needs and sort of planning were, so that whatever we had agreed to and didn't compromise their ability to kind of grow and change over time. So the church has had its own internal kind of process working with us to think about their needs and their sort of growth plans. And this will provide sufficient sort of parking for them for those needs sort of over time. These are some renders of the proposed building at Bowman Plaza that were in the approved sort of GIP. So you can see that it's 5 stories of residential with a commercial at the front, with 2 floors of covered parking. That gives us a 7-story structure that we believe will be the tallest building in Fitchburg on completion. And we hope will provide kind of a stunning presence on Fish Hatchery as people enter Fitchburg kind of from the north on Fish Hatchery and come down that. And that has kind of certainly been our intent. It's kind of an E shape. You can sort of tell it's got a middle wing with sort of green roof on either side. And then articulation of the building structure kind of in and out to break up that facade. And typical of many of our recent buildings, kind of plenty of balconies, windows, light for the units inside. The church is continuing their process. These are sneak peeks. They will not have come before the Plan Commission sort of yet. There was a kind of a rough indication of what sort of is in process, and they are refining this and will come forward. But partly with guidance from the city, the intent is to bring forward kind of in addition to the existing church as their phase 1. That is a more modern sort of structure, but does not detract from the existing kind of church architecture. This addition will provide additional seating capacity within the church, ADA toilets, elevators for access to the basement, facilities that don't currently exist within the church, and will help suit the church from a growth perspective in terms of their congregation. And the needs of all their parishioners and the community service that they do. As per the original GIP, their intent is still to extend to the north with a further building at a future sort of phase, but they are kind of progressing their internal design for this and would expect this to come to Plan Commission in due course sometime this summer or fall. As part of the guidance we had from the city, even though there's no application yet been made by the church, the city asked us to provide kind of incremental design kind of guidance of what the intent is sort of with the church, so that the city knew as well what their plans were, so that when we move forward with the parking lot, with the drive access, they know what's coming, what's intended to come forward, and can provide incremental sort of guidance. So we're continuing kind of in that vein. So where are we at? What does the timeline sort of look like? At this point, our goal is to start construction on the parking lot areas this summer. One of the things from a coordination perspective with the church that we found out was that there, particularly at big services, there are a number of people from the church who are parking at the Bowman Plaza location at the moment. Because it's not used from a commercial perspective, there's plenty of parking. Overflow has been there. So were we to knock down the Bowman Plaza building and start constructing, all of a sudden the church wouldn't have sufficient capacity for their congregation sort of on most Sundays. So our goal with them is to build the parking, the drive access, the appropriate stormwater first. Once that's in place and there's sufficient sort of parking for the church, we would look to the spring of 26 for demo of the existing Bowman Plaza site, excavation for foundations, etc., potential assessment for hazardous environmental stuff to the degree we find some. We haven't found any yet with sort of testing, but anytime you excavate where a service station has been and where a laundromat has been, you take a little bit more time just to be sure you don't find anything in the process. And then assuming all is in order, look for a start of construction in summer of 26 for the main building, and would expect to kind of finish Christmas of 27 for leasing at that point in January of 28. So that's a rough time frame that we're working towards, and that certainly depends on future approvals. We have GIP. We have not yet submitted for SIP. Depends on a TIF approval for some of the shared costs here that wouldn't make a normal project work. Bank funding, market conditions, sort of, et cetera. But this is kind of what we are working towards at this point. Just had a meeting kind of with the church last night, kind of working through their timing and process. So you'll probably see an SIP application come in from us sometime in May or June to enable the parking lot to be done mid to late summer, depending on approvals. And with that, thank you for your time, and we'll open it up to questions.
Questions? Andy?
So you might have said this and I missed it. The plan is that the apartments would be market rate then?
That is the plan. We have talked about various options in the past with my prior Inventure hat on in terms of whether there was an ability to do some partial affordable. The general perspective we had with this building was that the right place to do partial affordable was on the east side, that if you put sort of partial affordable in on the west side where you already have sort of affordable kind of housing, you're kind of concentrating that. But we're open to various conversations with the city as they figure out their kind of affordable housing or partial affordable housing strategy.
Okay. Not a question, but just kind of a comment of, I think it's nice to see this moving forward. And we've been talking about this, Joyce, for 15 years now? And I think it's this, kind of the old, 1960s sprawly development moving out and actually getting something denser on Fish Hatchery. And then similarly, we've been discussing with the church probably a similar timeline. We had a hotel proposal at one point in time. The church was going to move off that property. And so it's just nice to see things moving forward.
I would agree with Andy, particularly having something up over in the shopping center adjacent to it. But a question because I know the church was trying to move a couple times, as Andy said. Was the parsonage also sits next to the church? I didn't see that on your drawing. Are they incorporating that into their refurbishment? Or is it coming down?
The parsonage will disappear as part of phase 2.
Okay.
I don't yet know whether it will fully go away as part of phase 1 or not.
Okay. I just didn't see it in the picture, so.
I would expect that it might not, simply because they currently use it for office space for the church. And there isn't office space planned as part of phase 1. There is some office space planned as part of phase 2. So my guess is not. But I don't know for sure.
Okay.
Question.
Thank you. Other questions? Yes.
I had a question about the laundry facilities, and I'm glad you are already mindful of that in terms of chemicals. Laundromats use rather harsh chemicals, but that was something that was brought up as a decent amount of neighbors in that area that don't have in-unit laundry facilities do use that laundromat. And then there was some question of well, sometimes it's busy, sometimes it's not. Can you just speak to have you had conversations with the laundromat? Is there, and maybe you can restate, sorry if I missed it. Is there mixed use? Is there, the word is escaping me. Not housing, but commercial. Is there commercial on the bottom of this building, and is there any plans for having a laundromat tenant?
There is 9,500 square feet of commercial proposed on the ground floor on the fish hatchery side, so it will have presence kind of right along Fish Hatchery, and then parking on both the north and the south side. The north side shared with the church, the south side kind of just for the building. So that's what is intended. We always joke with you all at Plan Commission or wherever, or City Council, and basically say what the kind of tenants we want are paying tenants. So
that's a fair statement.
At this point, we do not have a clear perspective on who the tenants will be, but if somebody who's watching this and is interested in a space on Fish Hatchery, we would love to talk to them. We have not reached out or thought that would be an appropriate place for a laundromat. The folks who were running the laundromat there are no longer running the laundromat there. That's been closed for nearly a year now, I believe. As part of our original contract provided sort of for vacant possession. It's been delayed in terms of settlement given some market conditions over the last sort of year and the timing of approvals. So it's been fully vacant now since I think June or July of last year. In conversations with the laundromat owner back at the time, he had made a decision to move on to other things. So there was no ability to kind of relocate that to another property kind of at the time. That was explored. I think the city reached out to him. We talked to him. I think Andy Bowman talked to him. So he had made a decision to go other directions. And so there wasn't a real opportunity to do that.
Gotcha. That's super fair. I think just in general in the future, I don't know who would help us figure this out, but I'd love to understand if residents in that area it doesn't necessarily have to be in your building, but still have that need, right? And then I just want to reiterate this same statement that Andy and Mark made, that I'm super excited to see this moving forward. And if there is any accommodation for partially affordable housing, that would be super great to kind of talk through. And I think something council is really focused on. But thank you for your presentation today.
Thank you. Are there other questions? Okay, good to see you again. Good luck on the project.
Well, I'm just going to make a comment.
Sorry.
You can see that redevelopment is a bigger and more complex project for our office than a greenfield development. There's so many twists and turns at every corner, and thanks, Ned, for not giving up on us. We're very excited to see that. We've been in conversations with different end users for this space already, just because there's some really, really good traffic counts right at the corner of the Beltline and Fish Hatchery Road. Very comparable to East Washington Avenue, might even be more. So we've been really marketing that a lot, utilizing our Buxton software. So hopefully we'll have somebody for you in all of your buildings soon. There is a lot of interest, and once we tell that story, I think people are really surprised to hear.
Well, I'll just reach out and compliment the staff as well, because, it's been a long process, and this is not the original design that we had. And in some places, some municipalities, you might take in a plan and get knocked back, and that would be the end of the story. But here we've been able to have an iterative conversation over a number of years that have addressed city concerns, addressed our concerns in terms of what would make the project work, addressed the neighbors' concerns about how we would sort of tie into them. And that cooperative sort of process is the reason why we are primarily doing projects in Fitchburg, because we live here and we like working with you all, and it's a collaborative process that eventually gets to positive results. So sincere appreciation to the staff and the alders for all their work and support.
Well, thank you. Always nice to see you. Any other comments from the group on this topic?
No, but Ned, would you mind sharing your presentation with me so I can get it out to the group?
I will. I've just got to figure out how to get it to you, given that it's sort of 50 meg or something like that. It won't email, so I will do that.
Okay, thanks.
Thanks, Ned. Okay, next on the agenda is the Uptown Hills Workforce Townhomes Project.
So as you know, we definitely need more senior housing. So we're really excited about this project. This is the Oak Ridge Senior Housing, and in the Target kind of area. And so we're going to hear a little bit about this proposal, which has 240 senior housing units, and it includes 3.
That's the next one.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'll let you do that one.
We're the 24 unit small
Sorry, my
project stuck
apologies.
into all these. Yeah.
So I'll give a little bit of background. This is Sean O'Brien, developer with North Point and Dream Lane. Is Lane going to pop on today or not?
Lane is actually in Illinois doing a site visit for
great.
a project that we're working on in Yorkville, Illinois. A senior
great.
project there, but so he couldn't make it today.
So this is a townhome project in Uptown, across the street from their Limerick project. This is 24 affordable townhomes, and we'll let Sean take it away from there.
Yes. Well, this is going to be... So I apologize. It looks like I'm going to have to rotate some of these pictures. So while I do that, let's see. I guess I should have not anticipated that I would have perfect tech going here. So let's see.
Well, you shouldn't have counted on me then.
No, it's not. Let's see.
Blame it on Lane.
Yes. All right, give me 1 second to set up here, and then I guess while I'm doing that, I can hopefully multitask, although my wife would argue otherwise. My name is Sean O'Brien. I work with North Point Development. I am a Fitchburg resident. I could have walked over here today, but at 7 o'clock I decided to drive. I live over in Oak Meadow, right behind the radio towers. And now I lost everything. Okay, convert. I do not want to do that. Do you need a hand? I am almost there. Oh, wrong way. Nope.
Look at the opportunity we're giving everyone to show your resiliency and flexibility. You've all passed with flying colors.
All right, no, we're good. Okay, so again, Sean O'Brien, North Point Development. Thank you for having me here. It is certainly, in housing, it takes all different types, right? Like we have a housing crisis in this country, in this city, in the county. You've heard of a couple of much larger projects. One that's coming after mine, that's senior affordable housing, that's also pretty large. But there's not one size shape that's going to solve this crisis that we have. And so it takes a lot of different ideas. In our project, Uptown Hills, that idea started about 2 years ago. We had worked with Avante Properties and purchased, I believe it was Outlot 11 at the time. And that was around 2020, and we built our Limerick project, which was 100 units of senior affordable housing and 27 workforce housing townhomes. Following up on that project, we started talking about what else could we do together on this site to bring some affordability into Uptown. So we looked at Outlot 14, which is at 5078 Haight Farm Road. On this map, I don't know if you can you see this slide up there? Am I not sharing?
No. It's not showing up, and Joyce is talking to our tech support.
Well, as it comes up, so this sits at the very south side of the Uptown neighborhood in the city of Fitchburg, right across the street from the new Hartung development. And on this site is a single-family home. It's about 2.5, 3 acres, but it's very narrow and long, so it's a very oddly shaped parcel. And so as we looked at trying to develop something on this site, we had a lot of site challenges with topography and then obviously just shape. And we started working on this about 2 years ago. So even though it's only 24 units, I would argue that it's probably somewhere in the same range as working on a 200-unit project in terms of time, effort, and total work that goes into it. In development, there's always twists and turns and other things and challenges that you have to go through. And sometimes even, small projects will have a few curveballs that come along the way. But we typically, North Point Development will work in the affordable housing space. We work through the low-income housing tax credit program. There's a couple of different types of tax credits that we can go after. One is the competitive tax credit, which you may hear about on the next presentation, where you go to WIDA and you say, here's our project, and they rank and score you and allocate a finite amount of credits available. There's also a non-competitive housing tax credit that you can go to WIDA at any time during the year and say, hey, we have a project that works financially and we'd like to apply for tax credits. Now, the big difference between a competitive tax credit and non-competitive tax credit is just the amount of equity that they generate. And so in general, when we talk about workforce housing and low-income housing tax credits, we're the developer is going to the state housing finance agency and we're requesting tax credits. And in return for those tax credits, we're agreeing to rent our apartments at an affordable rental rate and keep that rate affordable for a period of 30 plus years. And those rates are then determined by household incomes, with the idea that folks that are living in those apartments that are working are paying around 30% of their income, and it's going to housing and utilities. And so that's the trade-off. So the equity that we generate for these projects come from the tax credits, which then in turn we agree to keep the rents affordable. Do you want to jump in?
No, he said you need to sign it to Zoom to do the screen share.
I need to sign into Zoom?
Yep.
Well, I need to sign into Zoom.
You need to, yeah.
Oh, okay.
To do the screen share.
How did the first presentation get on
Because
there?
I had him saved on my laptop.
Oh.
And I was signed in.
Okay, I can sign into Zoom.
Bear with us a second, folks. We're trying to get the technology working.
Do you want me to look and see? Let's see. Zoom.
Joyce, that may still be the sign in, because that's the same original computer.
Okay.
It's just plugged back in.
Yeah, I wonder if you can do it by me.
Okay. Well, here's I think you can see it now on Zoom. Zoom is very hard to share multiple files, so we'll see how this goes. So this just gives you an idea of where we're located. Again, 2 years ago we started this. The idea is, it's interesting because we're really getting close. We're currently working with the city kind of on the last piece of gap financing that we need to move this project forward, which would be a loan from the Affordable Housing Fund that the city currently has. And we're working through all those things, but it started 2 years ago, and we knew that we could work through this non-competitive tax credit process if we could get the timing set strategically to go after other grants and available soft funds that are in the market for these types of projects. But it just goes to show you that, one, the time horizon on workforce housing is extremely long. It's already 2 years, we haven't even put a shovel in the ground. And two, we really need a lot of things to come together in order to make these things work financially. And so when we put the site under contract, the first thing we went after was the Dane County Affordable Housing Fund, which we applied for in August of 2023. We were awarded those funds at the end of 2023 in the amount of $960,000, which is a 2% interest-only, really patient capital that the county sets aside for affordable workforce housing projects. And so we started there, and so that was our first step. Okay, we can keep the project moving. We got the first piece of financing we were looking for. Then we applied for Dane County Home Funds. They awarded us $200,000, which is also a loan to the project, and it ends up being patient capital. We have to pay that back in 30 years. Then we went to the Federal Home Loan Bank of Chicago last year, and were awarded the big chunk here, which is $2 million of a grant from the Federal Home Loan Bank of Chicago that will be utilized to help build the project. And then finally, the last gap source that we were working on is working with the city for the affordable housing loan. So, as you think about why do projects, it sounds like, Sean, you've gone through and pulled together a lot of soft capital. Well, why can't these projects just work on the tax credits that WIDA is providing with you and whatever debt you can carry? Well, the amount of debt that we can carry on these projects isn't anything, out of the ordinary in terms of market, right? We have rents, we have expenses, and whatever is left over, you can, service your primary loan. But between that and the tax credits, we're still left with a substantial gap, which is what we're filling with all these other sources like the AHP and the Dane County Affordable Housing Fund. Really, the reason for that, these projects and this, there's no difference in construction costs. In fact, I would argue that, we're probably a little bit more expensive in construction costs because we're building everything sustainably. This project will be Energy Star new construction certified, and we'll have an EPA and Air Plus certification. But besides that, construction costs are what they are. I was just at an event yesterday that showed over the last 3 or 4 years, construction costs have gone up 41% in Dane County, and that really rings true. From just examples that we have, if you look at the townhomes at the Limerick, there's 27 townhomes here, all underground parking. We built those for about $195,000 to $200,000 per unit back in 2000 and 2001. Our project, and I'm going to bring up the site plan, and bear with me as I work through this. But the cost that we're seeing now for workforce housing townhomes is about $300,000 per unit. And that's for about a 1,400 to 1,500 square foot townhome that has 2 to 2.5 bathrooms, which I won't get into my bathroom story, but as a developer, I'm always making sure that when we're building these 3 bedrooms that we're not building 3 bedroom, 1 bathroom townhomes. But I should say my previous role besides North Point Developments, I spent 15 years at WIDA working on housing policy and working through the housing tax credit program. So I'm going to click on our site plan, and you let me know if you can see it on the Zoom, or is it still showing the map? Okay. So I think I can do this quickly. Oh, let's see. I might just try to share the screen. Yep. All right. So $300,000 a unit to build. Now that doesn't include any of our soft costs. Obviously, it takes time to pull these things together: architects, fees, infrastructure costs. We do have to bring the water line down from the corner of the roundabout in Lacey all the way down throughout our site in order to have utilities for this. And so there's other costs that go into that $300,000 per unit besides just hard costs. But then there's also things like interest carry and architect's fees and legal fees that we have to go through to get these projects completed. But the main difference is, again, what is that primary debt? Like, why doesn't this work without a bunch of support from other agencies? And so we have 24 units, 5 of which will rent to households that are at the 30% of the county median income range. That's about $853 a month in rent. We'll rent 10 of the townhomes to folks at 50% of the county median income, which is about $1,525 per month in rent. And then 9 of the units will be rented to folks that are at the 80% income level, and we'll rent those for about $2,100, maybe $2,000, $2,100 a month. Now, some may argue what's truly affordable. Again, it goes back to income limits. So, basically, if there's a household of 4 and they're qualifying for the 80% of county median income, their income should be around $100,000 in Dane County, which is very high statewide compared to other counties. In Wisconsin, Dane County is has one of the higher median incomes. So you go, okay, well, $1,500, $2,000. I used to rent 12 years ago, 13 years ago. That seems really expensive. We do know that there's the new townhomes that are being built and rented across the street from our Limerick apartments that are market rate. Those townhomes, 3 bedrooms, 2 baths, are renting for $2,700 to $2,900 a month. So even at our 80% level for a family of 4 who's making $100,000 and qualifying for this apartment, their options are to do something like this, where it's about an $800, $900 discount to market. And so that trade-off is why we need the additional financial support and assistance. So our project will be 2 buildings. We're hoping to start construction in a couple of months. We're working through our final plans. This is Zone Smart Code, so we're working through all of those ordinances to make sure that we meet all of those requirements. And then hopefully we'll be, again, like I said, building a couple months. Building A is 18 units. It has a couple of ADA townhomes that will have self-serving, garages tucked into the building, but then the rest of the building will share underground parking for about 31 stalls. And then Building B is just 6 units of row townhomes, and those will all have double or 2-car garage stalls. Let me see if I can. I have a couple of elevations, and if I can't pull those up. This is no, please fill in for me. This is just a rendering of our 18-unit building. And so you'll see from this elevation that we are dealing with some significant topography. as we're moving across the site. But this would be the building that's on the west, and then I'll bring up the...
You need to reshare.
Oh, I do. Man. See, I should have just taken Danny's approach and just stayed in my stayed in the office, but no, this is all good. I'll just share this building. This gives you a sense of the design. Yeah. So one of the things I really like about this is 24-unit buildings are hard to do in many different ways, but this is what I would consider a phase 2 of our other project, and so there'll be some efficiencies with that. One of the main things that I'm excited about here is, again, more family housing that we can bring, even 24 units, at this level, 1,500 square feet around their homes. I mean, we're talking about, subdivision that could have 24 single-family homes, basically. And so that's nothing to, to discount. We'll be providing, 24 families.
Sean, are these all three, you said 3-bedroom?
Correct.
Are all of them 3-bedroom?
Yep, so all 3-bedroom and 2.5 bathrooms as well. And then, so again, this is building A, so it will have the underground parking, and then building B will have garage stall parking behind it. But I will hold off on trying to bring up those elevations because this gives you the idea of what they look like. And this area continues to develop. When we first built our Limerick project, we obviously didn't have the Hartung. That was all fields. And in fact, during our construction, we had that really bad thunderstorm, and the Hartung sign flew into our site and broke into 100 pieces. And it's definitely come a long way since then, just in that neighborhood. So there's definitely a lot of growth and development going on there. I think this is going to be a great fit. We're really excited to partner with the city to kind of push it forward, and certainly here to answer any questions that you might have on the project.
Questions from the group? Yes.
I don't actually have a question. I just wanted to appreciate your presentation at council, whenever that was, a couple councils ago, because I think there is a large misunderstanding of two things. One, I think they saw we had a couple constituents see the price to build the units and ask you, like, how is that even affordable?
Yes.
And your response was, that's not what the other person's paying. That's what we're paying to build it.
Right.
And so I think it really sheds light on like 30% of AMI 50 and 80, that breakdown. But I think also I could not imagine a better usage of our affordable housing fund, which by law has to be spent on things like this. And I believe, if I'm not wrong, was funded a decent amount by money made on interest of TID closure monies, which is just like as financially literate as I get. Don't ask me any other questions outside of that. But I just want to appreciate the time that you've taken to explain to our community, because these are really unfamiliar concepts. And I think explaining things like, this is a loan, not granted money that the taxpayer is paying you. This is a loan that you pay back to the city to bring us more affordable housing that you have to promise is affordable for 30 years, which if you, sitting at the Madison Chamber of Commerce meeting yesterday, it's clear Dane County is expected to grow, I think Zach said, to 1 million people by 2050, which is crazy to think about. So I just want to appreciate all of the work that you've done to explain these really unfamiliar concepts to taxpayers.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Other comments or questions? Andy?
And just echo what Nicole said. Very appreciative of you being here and helping us with the affordability problem. And I think she really, in her comment, hits the nail on the head that there is a huge population moving here, and it's great that people want to move here, but with that desirability, it's just supply and demand, and that's why prices are so high. If people didn't want to live here, we wouldn't have an affordability crisis, and I think that's where the city and the state need to come in and help, and just glad that you've been a partner with us.
Yeah, thank you.
Can you talk to the timeline again? Did I miss that?
Yeah, so we're really getting close. And so this is probably a 10-month construction project. So if we can start construction in, let's say, June, we should be wrapped up in April, around April of next year. And so, with these, we've built a lot of 3-bedroom and 3-bedroom townhomes, around Dane County. It's something that, market rate developers typically shy away from. Larger units are more expensive. You can't really get the return on the rents to make those work. But we've built a lot of 3 bedrooms around the county, and they lease up very quickly. There's a huge demand for family housing. And so let's say that we have this project open in April. I would assume that, we would have, at least 90% or even be 100% full in a couple of months after opening. So the timeline is that, we start construction in a couple of months, finish by around this time next year, and then, start leasing out the apartments at that point in time.
Other comments or questions? Well, thank you, Sean, and best of luck on your project.
Yes, and Lane wanted me to thank you for helping Limerick become a bike-friendly business.
As a sidebar, these folks don't know. I'm also serving the Bike and Ped Commission, and we're working with the Limerick to become a bike-friendly business, and we filled out the app yesterday. In addition, they were one of our first B-Cycle sponsors in town, so thank you for that.
Yes, so this project will be really close to the B-Cycle station, or multiple that we have in that area. So thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Joyce, next on the agenda.
Thanks for your patience, too. Appreciate it.
Okay, Noreen, you're on.
Okay, so our next one is JT Klein. This is a senior housing that is called the Oak Ridge Senior Housing. 240 senior housing units, 3 8-unit buildings, and it's a mix of affordable and market rate units. So we have Danny that will be presenting.
Welcome, Danny. I see you're on our screen here.
Okay, perfect. Let me just, if I can get a site plan pulled up. Can you guys see that on your end?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, perfect. Well, I'm traveling today, so I much appreciate you guys having the virtual option. I'll start my presentation by saying the best thing that could have happened was having, because he does a much better job at explaining how tax credits and workforce housing goes. So thank you, Sean. If someone just wants to copy and paste his notes into my meeting minutes, that'd be great. But what we have here is, as Joyce said, the Oak Ridge senior housing project, which is just off of Nesbitt and Fitchburg. And maybe I'll start with, this is, and I apologize, this is not the sharpest image, but a zoomed out version of where this project's located. So starting with the location, we're just south of the Orchard Point shopping center. We actually developed the Limestone Ridge apartment just north of here. It's a workforce building, 116 units, and that's been very successful in this area. We worked closely with Fitchburg to get that project done. We understand that there's a really big need across Dane County, Fitchburg, and really on the west side of the city to bring affordable housing to this area. And we think this location also works really well for a senior development, and we're proposing 240 units. We have a 9% WIDA application in for our first 80 phases, or 80 units here, and then we'll kind of continue developing from there. But not telling you guys anything you don't know about the location, but it's very well amenitized. There's a bus route just on bus stop on Fitchburg. I think it's about 50 feet away from our site here. You've got Target, Hy-Vee, I believe there's another grocery store, lots of neighborhood amenities that are all walking distance, really short drive, and you've got great public access or public transportation as well. Kind of moving into the site plan here, as I mentioned, we've got a WIDA application in for the first phase, and that'll be about 80 units. And what we'd like to do is we're kind of evaluating the market. We're much farther behind than Sean's project here. We're just kind of going through the comp plan amendment. We'd probably be aiming for spring of 26 start at the absolute earliest. So we're still going through a lot of the inner workings, but the first phase would probably have units ranging between the 30 and 80% AMI. And as Sean kind of pointed out, it's anywhere between $30,000 a year for income up to $100,000, and some of the 30% units will have set asides for persons with disabilities, veterans, and it really provides a really nice range for vulnerable populations. And the next phases, we're debating doing a market rate phase and then potentially a 4% phase that might have 60% units. So our concept here is really to provide a really wide range of housing for residents that will either be 55 or 62 plus. All our amenities at this project will be kind of senior focused. We'll have larger community areas, libraries, little reading nooks, and other things within the units. Will have handrails. A lot of our bathrooms will have kind of roll-in showers and grab bars. So the building itself will all be designed for persons over the age of 55. And the site itself, it's a nice square location, and you can kind of see our first go at the layout here. We think there's going to be some room here to add maybe some outdoor activities. We've got the bike path going around our site that we'll try and incorporate and have either maybe some pergolas or some seating to kind of interact with the surrounding area there. Each building is going to be about 80 units, and as you can see on the top side of the site here, it'll be kind of a connected building where the building will function really. The site itself will be more of a campus. I think we'll have larger community areas that residents will be able to kind of interact and utilize other amenity spaces. Previous buildings we've had, each building will have like a fitness room, some activity areas, puzzle rooms, things like that kind of keep residents entertained. A lot of our managers have specialized events that are senior focused, so we'll have donuts and coffee a lot of the mornings. We've organized things where grandkids will stop by and they'll have kind of game day during the day. So we're going to try and do our best to make sure that this entire campus really functions as a whole and keeps people entertained. We haven't quite got to the point of elevations yet, but I do have just a couple of our other senior buildings that we've done throughout Dane County. This is our Oak Ridge University Park project that is at the former Westgate Mall. Again, 4-story above an underground garage. All our proposed projects here at Fitchburg, same concept. That'll be about same height, underground garage with heated underground parking. And then the other project here is just another 4-story, our Oak Ridge Middleton project, 4-story above an underground garage. Again, we used high quality materials, a little bit different feel to it, and we'll work with KBA to kind of design this entire campus so that it works well with the surrounding neighborhood. Each building kind of has distinct features while working together as a single community. And then I think the last thing I'd like just to touch base on is that, Sean did a great job explaining the workforce housing, but this is housing aimed at people that are on relatively fixed incomes. There's going to be a lot of different income variations, but we utilize tax credits along with Dane County workforce housing funds. We're working with the city to potentially extend the TIF. And there's also going to be an application we put in for the Federal Home Loan Bank of Chicago grant. And these projects are getting more and more expensive to build, and it's on us, the developers, to really work with municipalities and make sure we're going through every avenue to build them. And we're hoping, fingers crossed, that the first large component of our tax credit equity will come to fruition with our 9% application. I believe we're supposed to be notified sometime in May on that, but we'll continue to kind of push through this and try and find every avenue of funding that we can, because we think this is a really important type of housing that's needed in really all communities, but specifically the west side of Fitchburg. I don't think there's a lot of affordable senior housing, and we think this hits a market that is currently underserved. So with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions that the group may have.
Does our group have any questions?
So on-site management, is that what I heard you? Have you gotten there
that's
yet?
correct. It's a corporation to manage all of our properties. They're based out of Madison, and they've got, I think, 6 or probably 7,000 units throughout the state. So they do a great job for all our buildings. This building will be interesting because it's 240 units at the end of the day. So there'll probably be like kind of an area manager, a campus manager that will be in charge of the entire thing. And then there could be a leasing staff and assistant managers that will be more designated to each building. So there will be on-site management and on-site maintenance as well.
I have a question. Excuse me. So how many on-site people are going to be managing this property?
It'll probably be 2.5. There's probably going to be 2 full-time people and a half-time person. And then for our portfolio, we also have a leasing specialist that would probably be shifted to this property during the summertime or really when the leasing season is. So that's still something that's open to interpretation. We'll work with Oak Brook to make sure that it's properly staffed, but I think at this time we're probably thinking at least 2.5 full-time people from just the management side. There's also going to be full-time maintenance staff.
Whose employees are these managers and maintenance people? Are they yours? Or are they hired through a subcontractor?
Yeah, Oak Brook Corporation is the management company. Their employees. The project will be the one that pays the salaries and benefits of all the employees, but this is all done through a third-party management company, Oak Brook.
And the third-party management company is Oak Brook?
That's correct.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
One of the things I really appreciate is that they have been really in direct contact with Jill, with the senior center, and especially in looking at the affordable units. And this proposal has shared that with the seniors during a lunch and learn, and they're very excited about this project.
And correct me if I'm wrong, this location is also on the bus line, on a bus line? Near a bus line, yeah. So I think that's also great as we talk about like making sure seniors have a space in Fitchburg to live in community, which enriches, has better health outcomes. We know that that's one of the key indicators for senior health and vitality. And so I also appreciated, Danny, when we spoke earlier, that there's thoughts around that too and how to get them engaged with our, I will say, the best senior center in Dane County, because Jill runs a tight and fun ship. So
just a clarification of that comment, it's across the street from 10 Pin Alley on Nesbitt Road. So, other questions from the group? Okay, Danny, thank you very much, and thank you for putting up with the technology issues this morning. We will move on to our next item on the agenda. Joyce, do we have any resolutions or ordinances?
No, we do not.
Okay, we will move on to item number 8, the room tax considerations and community night out. Joyce, your turn.
So I just wanted to report that the fourth quarter taxes are due at the end of the month. So I don't have an actual dollar amount. The finance department did switch over how the reporting is done, and now the hotels will report through OpenGov. So we're getting a few phone calls about how that works and how that looks. So we'll have a better report for you in May. And I just wanted to mention that the police department had reached out and would like CETA to engage in the community night out. So we have been working with Sergeant Brown on some business engagement. We thought it would be fun to find some of our unique businesses that people aren't even kind of aware of as to what they do. And we've asked them to participate, and we're getting a really good response. But for CETA, Mike and I have an idea of what we'd like to do, but we haven't got any kind of financial requests together, but we will probably have something in the next couple of meetings. That event is August 13th at McKee Farms Park. And then we'd be possibly looking for some volunteers. Mario, maybe you would come and work with us on what we plan to do. Okay, all of you guys. So we'll keep you posted on that. Yeah, it's going to be fun and exciting, and they get a really, really good crowd. And every year it's getting bigger and bigger. So I'll keep you posted on that.
August 13th is a Wednesday?
Correct. I believe it's from 5 to 8.
Okay, Joyce, anything else on that?
Nope, not right now.
All right, we'll move into item number 9 on our agenda, economic development and committee member reports. Joyce.
So I'm just going to give kind of a brief update as to what I've been working on. So we had a request from MadRep. So that consumed a lot of my time. We did have some land that we did respond to. It's called Project Farwell. So hopefully one of these times we'll have some success on landing one of these companies. This sounds like an interesting group. I can't really say a whole lot about what it is, but it sounded really kind of fun and would fit into our portfolio of industry clusters. It's kind of a ag and food-based business. We've been doing a lot of cold calls to hotels, restaurants, grocery stores. So we'll keep you posted on that. And let's see, I think that's all I'm going to report.
Okay. Well, then
I'm going to share a little bit too.
Sorry. Sorry. Oh.
We've had 2 meetings since the last time I was here, and nothing involving Fitchburg, just other businesses in Dane County. So there's nothing pertinent to us.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you, Dan. I think Noreen's up next.
So on my side, one of the biggest things is the housing plan. So actually we have 2 committee members. Both Jenny and Mark have been really remarkable in helping me select a consultant. So we did come with decide on a consultant, which was Redevelopment Resources. And so we will bring that, actually the contract was approved by Valerie, and we will bring that to council in early May. So we're really excited. If that is approved, then we would start that process in June and then finish up in around October, early November. So really excited about that. And then also recently, or actually yesterday, I sent an email or a doodle poll for a tour of 3 properties in the Hartung Fields area. So that's for July 1st and July 2nd. So if you could complete the doodle poll, just let me know if you have availability during that time. And I think that's about it.
Thank you. And Noreen did an excellent job, Joyce, of coordinating our process to select that consultants. So thank you. Next, anything on housing? I think we've had a lot about housing today.
Actually, I guess I'll just report out that Lorene put together a presentation for Mayor Radafrada. She was on a panel with Habitat yesterday. And one really interesting point that Professor Kirk Paulson mentioned
Yeah.
Yeah, we
I can
just
speak from experience.
Yeah.
My son is 38 and still trying to buy his first home.
Yeah.
And he's in a professional job.
So-
It's nuts out there right now as far as what Jenny knows, as far as availability and affordability and the interest rates.
Well, and then we factor in some of the other things that are happening at the federal level. I guess that is something that I should have probably reported on under the efficiency navigator. I guess, did I even talk about that? I didn't. So I guess I'll report under that. So the program is underway. Things are moving forward. I think there's probably 2 buildings that are completed now with the work. I got a report that they did find some minor gas leaks in some of the projects, but they did find one that was more serious that needed immediate attention. And then yesterday I did get an email that one of the chimneys was clogged, but that has since been fixed. We did get some of the funding from the EPA for the Community Change Grant. So that will be used for some of those larger projects that I mentioned in phase 2. So we're very, very excited that that money came through. And we will keep you posted because I think we'll probably be looking at the next phase of these projects coming forward. So great response. I think there's 2 projects that are scheduled, but they're a little ways out, just trying to connect with the owner and the tenant. So it's been very, very well received, and I'm glad that we are moving forward with additional funding for that program because it's definitely worth it.
So, quick question. We had the budget, we had all these proposals. With the rapidly rising costs of everything, are we going to have to go back and make adjustments as we're kind of moving through this program? I mean, I know for personal experience, I have an electrician coming to put a bathroom fan in my house, and he said our costs have gone up significantly in the last week. So it's going to be a probably more expensive project now. What are we going to do about that?
As the contract said, any change order over $500 has to come back to us. So
we may see that.
We may.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know about the significant gas leak, what that looked like as far as the repair, but
unexpected.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And that was one that we needed to react very quickly. So it goes to show you that our focus on safety is significant as well.
Okay, Joyce, anything else?
No.
Thank you. Are there any announcements from the group? Hearing none, we'll take a motion for adjournment.
So moved.
We have a move. Is there a second? Second on the other end of the floor here. And our next meeting is going to be Thursday, May 2nd. 22nd, sorry. And we'll see you all then. We are officially adjourned. Thank you.
Thank you.